Well, hi guys. I'm Greg Stanforth, your art teacher, and today we got a special treat. We got a former student of mine by the name of, as you can see, Kevin Fehrenbach. Kevin graduated in 2017,
Correct.
and he's got an exciting career to tell you about. First of all, he had a great time in the art classroom. And you can talk about that in a little bit. And he had a good college experience, and he also has built himself a great career. So he's going to be very inspirational for some of you guys. So we're going to start it off first. I just want to say, Kevin, good to have you here.
Yeah, it's great to see you, Greg.
I want to just mention that you flew in from Florida for this.
Did.
Very good,
Yeah.
where he works. But he's going to tell you all about that. But first thing I want to ask you is, like, since I was your high school art teacher, and you were a very good student. You're one of the top students that I've ever taught. And so I wanted you to tell me what was it about the high school program that, or what was it about your background, including your high school program, that made you want to become a designer, an artist and a designer?
Well, I guess to start, before I even went to high school, I had heard about you from my father and my uncle, who were both
right.
students of yours.
I forgot to mention that. I taught your uncle and your dad too.
In the 86 and 87, they graduated, but they both told me they had very fond stories of times in your class and a lot of the value that they found in it. And my uncle he made a career out of design, and I saw how much he loves what he does. And
good guy.
It's really inspiring to see people in your family get so much out of what you taught them. So I followed their steps and I went through the program, and sure enough, it was worth every bit of what they.
Well, tell me a little bit about your special experience. I remember teaching your uncle and your dad, and they were good guys. And so when you came along, I thought, oh wow, another father-son thing going on here. And but you had a lot of skills. I mean, you had a good work ethic, and but what was it? What did you learn in the program that enticed you with becoming an artist and designer?
Oh, well, it really is it stacks on itself. Like you pick up these fundamentals and you start to get excited about, what are the possibilities and what can I do with these new skills that I'm picking up through, just the repetition and, learning, the ways of art. Yeah, so when you're, coming into this class for the first time, it's intimidating, and you feel a bit like there's a lot to live up to, and you see all the amazing work of the former students and what they've gone and done with it, and you want to feel like you're up to the same standard of these, these guys before you, and then you see all the, opportunity out there of. This doesn't just have to end in I'm a fine artist. You can take this and you can become, so many things with it in the creative industry. But I'll say is like it's rare that you find a teacher that is gonna, put so much effort into making sure that you find what you want to do.
Yeah.
And it's a shame that, it's commonly seen as sort of easy class, easy A. It's not easy. Greg's class is never easy, but that was what I found so exciting about it, is it's actually hard stuff, and when you find this challenge, and it's something that is such a long-term thing that you can set for yourself, it's.
Well, I don't mean to interrupt, but I always remember the reason why I made the program that way, made it difficult, was because when I was in art school, I had to spend so much time doing all my projects, and all my fellow students in art colleges, because I went to several, it was the same story. The only people who spent more time outside of class working on what they did were medical students.
Right.
And everybody else, on these easy subjects like physics and, all those other subjects, chemistry, you name it, and business especially, those guys were drunk and stoned all the time in college,
Oh,
But
yeah.
but art guys, we were busy doing our art all the time because we had so much to work to do, especially if you were good at it. And so when I became an art teacher, I just thought, I'm going to teach my kids what it's really all about. And it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of discipline, but it's a lot of fun if you love it.
Oh, yeah. And you got to be prepared for that. You got to be willing to, make the necessary changes in your life and give up things that you think are fun at the time. But if you have that long-term goal and you're going to work toward it, it's all worth it.
Yeah, and that's, like a lot of former students, I would bring guys back in and talk to you guys and see, here's what can happen to you.
Yeah.
And so now you're the guy that you're talking to, not just
Never
former
thought I'd
students,
see
we're talking to a
myself
lot
here,
of people
right?
because you are the great example. So anything else you want to say about the high school program, what you did and what your experience was like?
I will say it's really cool to go through that program with a bunch of other excited young, soon-to-be designers because they all now go do some really cool, amazing things. And, the cool thing about design is, you're not, getting a degree to go do one specific job. You're not going to be, pushing, pencil at, whatever. These guys, they end up, they go do cars, or they go do motorcycles, or I know people who are working at all these different places, then you can go check in with them, and
it's a fun
it's
career.
really exciting.
When hearing from all you guys, wow, you guys have a lot of fun doing this.
Yeah, with all,
so, well, and so now, you had a really successful time in high school, and you were one of the best students, and you had a great work ethic. You had all the skills that you needed. And so when you decided to go off to college, you kind of had a few scholarships, didn't you?
I may have.
A few.
Yeah.
How many?
I don't know. There's quite a few.
It was quite a few. It was more than one or two.
Yeah, I had to choose, but I think I had my sights set on one specific spot.
So you went to where?
I ended up going to College for Creative Studies in Detroit because I loved automotive and transportation design.
Yeah. Now, did you and one of your parents visit the school before you? Okay. And did you visit any other schools too?
Oh, yeah. We, Myad, Cleveland. I'd spent a few weeks at DAP for their camp. Went down to SCAD, checked them out. Gosh, there's so many that
So I always recommended to you guys to every school you apply to, visit if possible. Go see it.
Yes.
Talk to them, and you can see what they're about. And I have a series of questions, and there's a video here that you can look up to see all those questions that I talk about, what you should ask the people that you talk to in admissions, and things that you should consider when you are considering different schools, and have lots of options. And you had, like I said, I think you applied to maybe 10 schools. That was my suggestion, was 10 schools. And so you came to a very good choice, and you ended up going to
CCS. Yes.
Yep. College for Creative Studies, right?
And I think it was the absolute perfect choice for me. It was for what I was interested in. They have a great program for it.
Yeah, they have one of the best known industrial design, car design places. It's in Detroit.
I think it's one of three, at least at the time, it was just one of three schools. If I was going to go to California or, for Art Center, but
definitely top program.
Yes, and being just a couple hours away in Detroit from Cincinnati, it was perfect. It was just far enough away, but
right.
But unfortunately, the whole COVID thing ended that short, and I had an unusual graduation experience.
Yeah.
But
so how was the program for you? Like, describe us your experience of, did you go in there right away, ended up trained specifically for what you ended up doing?
Oh, no. Well, so
how'd it go? I
felt like I came there very prepared as a freshman because they come and they're trying to teach you the fundamentals that you have already taught us. I got to come to school and I skipped out drawing 1 because I already took your AP class. And then 2D design, I already took your class. So already I came in and I felt like I was ahead. Yeah. And, not to brag, but it just seemed like these other students that were coming in just didn't have the same preparation as I did. It just seemed like they were coming to just learn about art for the first time. Yeah. And if you can already have that understanding, it makes everything so much better. Your whole experience is going to...
Well, I tried to be a work... I tried to work you guys hard because I knew when I went to art school that I wasn't as well prepared as I knew I could have been. And so I didn't do as well my freshman year as I wanted you guys to be able to do. And so you were a pretty good example. I liked when guys would come back from college and say, Greg, I went to art school in the first year. We already did that. And so I tried to give all your assignments that I gave you in high school, junior and senior year were actually college assignments that I had had.
Yeah.
And so you guys were very well prepared. And but that just give you the preparation. You had to take it from there. So what would you do after that? The beginning of the program.
So getting into CCS is their program is set up in a way that you kind of just have to commit to one thing. I know other schools, they let you try a lot of the
Sure.
Basic general classes that you have to take right up front, and then you can decide your degree. But I think committing to one thing and knowing that was just what I wanted was ultimately what helped me through that, because there's a lot of times where you just want to say, maybe I shouldn't do this, and maybe I should just give up on that, because it's not easy, and there's a lot of factors playing against you when you're a college student and
that's
you're trying to make it.
It's a challenging program
like
up there at Detroit. Yeah,
for sure.
Very challenging.
But really, I just fell in love with the the result of the hard work. Is really, it's like you put in those hours and you come the next day and you're confident because you put the time in to make something great.
Yeah.
And then you're rewarded when you get there because they're telling you this is great stuff, and then you're immediately, that's like starting to build into, okay, I'm starting to talk to the people at Ford or whatever company you want to work for. Right?
Kevin, so tell me about your career. You had a good preparation in college. You went to a very challenging program, and I feel like you were well prepared. And then, of course, the COVID stuff, and then you got this internship. And so what happened after that? And it wasn't designing cars either.
No. Well, I think through my internship doing pontoon boats, I proved myself as a creative thinker that can solve these problems, which is designing a space within a sculpture, essentially, which is what boat design is to me.
Yeah.
It's the most pure form of automotive styling without the the automotiveness of wheels have to be here and we have to have distances for crush and all that.
So you feel like this was sort of more open.
Freeing. It's really freeing. And boat design is always fun because boats are fun. You don't need to buy a boat. You need to buy a car, but nobody needs to buy a luxury sport boat.
So so essentially, you're building for a market that can appreciate some extravagant designs that you might come up with. Okay,
yes.
That's pretty cool.
That's the beauty of it, and I think the car design is definitely still a passion of mine, and I still find ways to make that a side job and side kind of passion. But no, when I get into the marine world, I felt at home because I already kind of had that interest in sort of the background of being around that, growing up and going down to the lake, and I was like, someone has to design all of these boats,
So it's interesting because you do your internship. It's in Indiana, and then they've got a new factory in Florida, and they need somebody to design boats down there, and so you go down and you're designing boats. Now, have they made any of the boats that you've designed?
Sure have.
Okay, so that's been 3 years you've been there.
Yeah.
So tell us about your first boat that you designed.
Wow. Well, I got down to the Florida factory and I did a few kind of simple projects, small things, maybe do a console or some parts for a boat, and then immediately it's like we're kicking off a new program and it's a new brand, and to my surprise, I felt like I just landed in the right place at the right time because they said, hey, we'd like you to lead this. And
that's cool.
Sure enough, my first boat, I was lead designer on a 30-foot boat that's not even in the U.S. yet. It will be a global product, but Yeah, we can share some images of that, but it's
yeah, we'll show images of this stuff.
yeah,
So, yeah.
It's a really exciting thing because I saw it from just sketch phase to we're building full scale mock-ups, and I'm designing a CAD model with I wasn't always a CAD guy, but I kind of just start drinking from the fire hose, you learn how to do it, right?
Oh yeah, and one thing I wanted to mention, this brings up something because I remember another former student who got a job with Ford designing cars. He told me something that I was kind of surprised, and it's something that I thought parents really needed to hear, and maybe students need to hear this too, is that at the time he said at Ford, they pay the designers, the guys who go to art school, 20% more than they pay the engineers who do all the engineering on the cars. Now, do you have a similar situation designing boats at the boat place?
It could be, and there's a lot more responsibility, I'll say, in the hands of designers, because you'll have 1-2 designers creating the whole big picture and making all these big decisions, and the engineers are just making sure it works.
And
they
on
just
top
follow
of that,
your build sheet.
You're not a starving artist.
No,
he's not starving, folks.
You're
doing okay. You're doing okay. And so there's a lot of fields in art and design that you can make pretty good bucks. So like I said, as good as a designer. So don't think that you're gonna that your son or you, if you're a student, are going to starve the rest of your life because you become an artist or a designer. If you starve, that's your choice, because there's a lot of things that you can do to make a very good living, and Kevin's a really good example of this. So tell us now about your latest experience there. You were telling me previously about where you sometimes you go to where they're having boat shows or something. Tell that.
So the
tell me
boat
about
I was
that.
just mentioning, we went to. We're always going out to boat shows and doing endurance tests. We'll go take a boat offshore, do runs. But most recently I went to the Cannes Yachting Festival for the launch of my first boat.
Cannes in France?
Yes.
Like where they have the movies?
The film festival? Correct, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Beautiful place. You may have heard of it.
Wow, I think I've heard of that. I'm jealous.
Yeah, it was really a surreal experience to go there, and you feel like that rock star because they're like,
oh yeah,
everybody's loving what you created, and they're making a big
right, it's your
big
boat,
powwow.
You designed it. I mean, they built a boat.
You really feel a sense of ownership for this project, because the designer is the one that's fighting for an exciting, fun product that the consumer will ultimately want. Everybody else is just worried about making sure the thing works, and it is good business case.
Yeah, and those are both good things, but it's like it's a whole teamwork project. They have to have a decent product to sell, and then the engineers have to, of course, make sure everything works mechanically, but it has to look good. It has to make the potential owner feel good about having that thing, because like you said, it's a high-end product.
Right. Yeah. And it's supposed to be a fun thing. So I think there's a lot of importance in understanding the value of design and how it influences people's buying. And a bad design and a good design at the same price, it's very clear which one you're choosing.
Well, it seems to me that you've chosen a pretty good career to go into, and that you would probably recommend something similar for other young artists there, and that it's maybe a bit more possible than they imagine. I mean, how did you feel when you were in grade school, high school, especially even your freshman year, and I had you working real hard, but did you ever imagine that you would be where you are now, designing boats and showing them off in France, and
It really does seem like something that is so unattainable, especially when you're going through the thick of it, and you're really spending those late nights, and it's like, is this all going to be worth it? And you just I think that long-term goal of it will be worth it, and there's something out there that I'm going to find that I'm going to love. That's really what it gets you through it, because those sleepless nights, they make you question whether you really want to do it or not. And
but you got to pay your dues, man. That's
yes,
just it. Yeah,
you sure do. And it makes you appreciate everything.
And when I started the art program there at school, I had to admit I was inspired a lot by our athletic program. We had a very famous athletic program, and I can remember, because I did a documentary one time when I was a young college student doing photography. I did a documentary of the first state championship football team that we had, and I saw how the coaches worked, the players, and how much they did, and it reminded me of what young artists have to go through. You guys have to work hard. You have to put in, like you said, sleepless nights. You have to spend extra time. And I think about young athletes. When you hear interviews with like professional athletes, they all talk about, man, you got to be in shape all the time. You have to work every day. You have to, all the preparation you do in high school and college, and then as a professional. And it's the same that an artist. Yeah. Artists have to put in just as much time and effort. And instead of just working on your body, though, you're working on your creativity, your mind, and you have muscle memory, just like athletes have muscle memory when it comes to doing things. So I think they're very similar. I've had a lot of athletes actually in my program who did quite well, and had to choose. Okay, do I want to become, do I want to go to college for football, or do I want to go for art or whatever? Right. So
there's a lot of parallels there for sure. Yeah. And I mean, speaking of the sports thing, it's like you do have to kind of decide what you want to do with your life, because you can spend a lot of time on one thing that's not really going to get you too far. And it's like anything. You've said many times, there's no such thing as talent. It's all skill that you gain through work.
Right.
So, if you want to work really hard at one thing, that's
I know.
A perfect example.
I mean, the world thinks that artists are just, well, you have talent, therefore you can do anything, and you don't have to work hard at it. No, it's exactly the opposite. I don't care about talent. Is irrelevant as far as I was concerned. He wasn't good in the program. He didn't get this job because he's talented. Well, I've got a little saying there: discipline comes before style. Okay, and so you have to be disciplined. And Kevin was very disciplined from the very beginning. He had to put a lot of time and effort into it. But then he developed a skill. Even if you have a lot of natural ability, that really only gets you so far.
Right.
You have to work at it. You have to develop it. And if you don't do that, you ain't going nowhere. Okay, Kev. So tell me a little bit more about your college experience at College for Creative Studies in Detroit. We know you're designing boats right now, but what did you do before you became the boat designer?
All right. Well, as you're going through college, obviously they try to teach you the most well-rounded design education. So you pick up a lot of new skills, one of which being graphic design, which I found very fun.
It's important.
And it is like a major building block to industrial design as well.
Yeah.
I was working at a car wrap company locally here, and I was doing design work for them during my college career to get some money on the side. So and I felt like that was also just a key part of understanding professional design. And because I started dealing with clients, and they come to you and they have an idea, and they want you to use your design sense to create something that they are willing to roll down the road. As they're rolling billboards, these wraps. So
you're dealing with things that business people deal with all the time. I know I've had a lot of parents say, my kid's just going to go learn about art, and he's going to learn anything about business. I said, well, most experiences that you have in art school, if you're going to be a designer of any kind, you do get that experience. They do teach you about business, if you will. And then you, with an internship that you do, in your say, you get a job from what you've said, and you do deal with other business people, you deal with clients, and so you are getting a lot of business experience, if you will, not just getting a bunch of drawing and painting and art stuff.
Absolutely, yeah. And that was just, I think, that part of my kind of growth was key to me understanding the business side of design.
Yeah.
They'll teach classes in college, the business of design.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot to be learned from that.
Yeah.
But really, once you get into the world of, publicly traded companies and
Yeah.
all of this, and there's a lot on stake, and you are, your product is really the face of the company because they see cool design, then they associate that with the name. Right?
And that's what I like about art. I like to tell kids, look, you design something, that's it's one of the reasons why some companies will pay the artists, the designers, more than they pay the engineers, because the engineers, of course, they have to make it work. Mm-hmm. But, the image, the way something looks is what sells a product. And we've learned that since the Industrial Revolution came along. We know that, okay, if this is a good thing and it works, that's fine. Mm-hmm. But if it's not appealing visually, it's not going to sell. Yeah. It's not going to sell. The one that looks the best and is the most appealing to the broadest audience, or maybe there's a niche audience if you have. But you have to have a design that helps sell. So that's why the workaday world out there, they all love their artists, their designers, because that's how they sell their products. We sell products, to services, and ideas. So. Yeah. Okay, Kev, we talked about your career, your good education, both high school and college, and I know you at a very young age you're 3 years into a really wonderful career, very exciting. And is there any advice you'd like to give young artists? Now, hopefully, a lot of people who are young artists in high school, and even maybe some young high school art teachers will be looking at this. And what would you like to tell that younger generation, if you will, about having their ideas and having their dreams? Like, what can they do? I mean, they're not going to all do what you did, but you have been with a lot of other people and you've had a lot of ideas. So,
yeah, I would say, I feel like I just went through all of this, right? So it's still fresh, and what I'd really say is find something that you're excited about, and it doesn't have to have anything to do with art. It could be shoes, or if you're interested in, like I said, boats, or you could do airplanes, or, interiors. There's so many different things you can do with design education, and I would say, like, don't limit yourself too early, because, you'll find an unexpected passion.
Yeah, it's funny, you mentioned like shoes, and I've actually had a former student go into shoe design. Yeah. And he's doing that for a living. And I know, okay, I live in Cincinnati. Mm-hmm. I'm a Bengals fan. Mm-hmm. Somebody had to design that striped helmet, and somebody had to come up with the idea to make it all white and black now instead of going from the orange and the black. So, we forget businesses hire artists because they have to sell a product that has to be attractive and appealing. Mm-hmm. So
if there's
like
something you love,
right.
There's probably a design role for that.
And that's just it, because as I used to tell my students, if we had to take away all of the things that people who designed for us and went to art school to learn how to design, if we had to eliminate all the things that they designed, we'd be standing naked in a field somewhere. When you think about it, my glasses were designed by somebody who went to art school. Our clothes, our cars, buses, trains, boats. Yeah. Graphic designers do all the images you see on boxes of whatever kind, logos for companies. I mean, it's endless, the amount of jobs there are, the amount of places you could search for to become an artist, the things that you can work on and design. It's just incredible. And I'm going to talk to you in the future about some of the ideas that Kevin just mentioned and that I was talking about with some other former students that will hopefully tweak your interest a little bit more. So did I forget? I mean, anything else that you thought about that you wanted to tell these young people? Well, I tell you what, we've talked about a lot so far, and I just want to thank you for coming and talking about your wonderful, exciting career that you got and your history. And I hope, and I'm sure that a lot of what you've said and a lot of what we've talked about will inspire a lot of young artists out there.
I sure hope so.
And I think to me, it doesn't have to just be a dream. Your dream can come true. And I've known so many scores of students I've taught who are out there, and there's going to be quite a few of these interview videos I'm doing with Kevin and other former students that lets you know that, yes, you can do this too. It's not just some really special, ultra talented person. Like I said, I don't really care about talent. You do have to work hard, and everybody tells you that. Your parents tell you that. Your teachers tell you that. Well, it's true. You do have to work hard. There's no excuse for not working. You have to give it everything you've got, but your dream can come true. And you can make a good living. You don't have to just live like a hermit and cut your ear off. You can become a successful person. So,
hey,
Kev, thank
thanks
you very
so
much.
Greg.
It's been really great talking to you
Hey.
today. And like I said, I think a lot of people are going to think a whole lot of what we said today. So,
Sure hope so.